everyone, this is Lego Lover one more time, come back at you with another video, and today's a very special video, as it's another movie review. Yeah, if you didn't already know, I've done a couple movie reviews in my time here on this website. Most notably was Force Awakens back in December of last year. And a little movie called The Great Race has just recently dropped on places like Google Play, iTunes, stuff like that, and I saw it and I want to talk about it. So here's my review for The Great Race. So first thing I'm going to start off with is the positives, things I liked about this movie. By God, there's a lot of them. First of all, the animation is absolutely stunning. ARC has really come a long way since their early days back in season 17. This animation, it's the best it's ever been, honestly. It literally looks like a real island of Sodor. Like, that looks like a real place that I could go to. Like, it's not as real as the model series, because obviously, you know, this is a cartoon and all of that, but my God, it's gotten really close to looking like the model series in terms of realism and such. Now, I know there's going to be a couple people in the comments section saying, you're just an ARC fanboy, you're oblivious to ARC's mess-ups in the animation, Nitrogen's so much better. Listen, I realize that ARC has some animation screw-ups, and if I'm going to be honest, I barely even noticed anything wrong in this movie. Everything looked spot on. You know that scene where Henry kind of phases out of the frame? Yeah, I didn't even notice that during my first viewing. I had to have someone point that out to me because I didn't notice it, because that's not the focus of that shot. The focus of the shot is Gordon rushing away, and that's the focus of that entire shot. It's Gordon rushing away from Thomas, and you're fearful that Gordon's boiler might go kaboom. Let's just all be happy that we didn't get a screw up as blatant as Salty Truck in Sora's Legend of the Lost Treasure. That's a goof that was really noticeable, because it's the focus of a shot, so obviously a lot of people noticed it. I also love Flying Scotsman. I think his voice is perfect. It's absolutely what I personally always pictured how he would sound. One thing I don't see about Scotsman is why people are saying he's a pompous jerk in the movie. He's not. He's actually a concerned brother and is only teasing Gordon in a few scenes. I really liked how the two would talk to each other and like the two scenes that they have with each other, which I'll touch on that in negatives later. But I really don't see why people are saying Scotsman was a pompous jerk. He's not. In the scene where Gordon is about to overheat and his boiler is about to go kaboom, Scotsman actually sounds like he's worried for Gordon. Like, he realizes that Gordon is about to, you know, go kablam, and Scotsman is concerned. He wants Gordon to stop. He says, Gordon, stop. There's something wrong. You gotta stop. And you can tell that Scotsman wants to help Gordon after his boiler goes boom, but he can't because he has to finish the race. And that facial expression from Scotsman is perfect. Everybody always praises Audrey for having the engines go back and forth with their bantering and such, so I don't see why people don't praise this for Scotsman bantering with Gordon. It's the same thing, in my opinion. And another thing I liked is this movie is funny. Like, it's actually genuinely funny. It's not, you know, trying to be like Charlie, where it's trying to be funny and shoving it down your throat with boring humor. It's actually funny. There's a couple of humorous moments that I actually laughed out loud at. Like, I was rolling on the floor, especially during the credit sequence. And by far the funniest character in this entire movie is Diesel. He is the absolute perfect balance between menacing and bumbling fool. I also really like the musical aspect to this movie. If you didn't already know, this is a musical, but the music itself is not shoved down your throat. Like, it's not. They felt integral to the plotline. They aren't just shoved in there for the sake of having a song like other musicals are. They're there, they're short, and they're memorable. And my favorite song is absolutely I'm Full of Surprises. I'm full of surprises, that's what they say of me. I bring some razzle-dazzle to the yard. Yeah, by far my favorite song in the movie. And that brings up another thing. I also liked how the engines knew that they were singing throughout the whole thing. Like, this was especially evident in the scene where Paxton says to Hazel, "Are you singing?" Because, you know, everyone knows they're singing. One thing I don't really understand though is how does Gordon know the song Streamlining that Thomas sings earlier in the film? Like, did Thomas like teach it to Gordon or something? I don't know, maybe Thomas held a chorus class while Gordon was getting streamlined, I don't know. Last thing I'll say, so I don't drag this out longer than it needs to be, I like Philip. I didn't think he was annoying at all. I think he's one of the better, newer characters. I know there's only like 5 people that actually like Philip, but hey, I like him. Fluke, go ahead, get triggered. Obviously, there's a ton more that I liked in this movie, but we're just gonna go ahead and move on to the things I didn't like, so we're not here all day. Oh, the things I didn't like, the negatives. For starters, I was underwhelmed with Scotsman and Gordon's dialogue. I wish that they had more scenes with each other, and the fact that Gordon really has no reason to hate Flying Scotsman. I don't really think Gordon hates Flying Scotsman, but there's really no reason for Gordon to be so resentful when Scotsman, you know, shows up. There's a line in the race where Gordon is singing Streamline that he says this, "Clouds today will have a silver lining. I'll see my bossy brother gets an undermining." Notice what he said there? He said bossy brother. Now, that line would have worked if we had seen Scotsman be bossy. We never saw that, so there's no levity for that line, and there's no reason for Gordon to have even said that. I guess you could say it's like a drop line thing that somewhat alludes to Gordon not liking Flying Scotsman, but at the same time, there's this philosophy in film of show, don't tell. They told, and they didn't show. They should have showed and not told us that. They should have showed us that Gordon had a reason to not like Scotsman. In like a flashback sequence or something, that Scotsman maybe did something to Gordon that Scotsman didn't realize was bad, and Gordon was pissed off about it, and that's why Gordon resents Flying Scotsman so much. I guess you could say the reason is because Scotsman calls Gordon little brother all the time, but isn't Scotsman older? Politely tell me in the comments if he is or not. I really hope that in season 20 they bring back Scotsman and maybe have him stay on Sodor for an extended period of time, and hopefully we get a season 20 story that is just Gordon and Scotsman and shows some flashbacks to their past and shows why Gordon dislikes Scotsman. And maybe if we get that story, then maybe it'll add some more levity to the Great Race. I also was not a big fan of the whole Vinny versus Philip thing. It felt kind of shoehorned in to me, really, because we didn't have, you know, a villain for the second half or an antagonist. It really wasn't a villain role. It was more of a antagonist role. It just felt kind of shoehorned in. It was funny, but it feels out of place in the flow of the movie, if you really think about it. Also, the fact that Vinny is a underdeveloped character, as with the rest of the international engines, except Tashima. Well, the part that I really don't like about the international characters is that not all of them speak. I think about 6 or 7 of them speak, and then the other half just don't say anything at all. And it actually is kind of sad that ARC rendered all of these models just to be seen in one special and not even get a line. At the same time, I understand why they created all of these models and characters and such. It's because you have to have a lot of people at a great railway show. I mean, this is a show for engines from all around the world, so you can't expect a fully fleshed out character from each and every single one of these engines. I mean, you just can't, and they were needed to compete, and we'll never see them again. So the last thing that I really wasn't a major fan of is the title. It's misleading. The Great Race lasts about only 2 minutes in this movie. It was animated spectacularly, don't get me wrong there, but it was really underwhelming in a movie called The Great Race. The race should have been longer, and it should have been more hyped up more. Really, it's only mentioned once by Gordon. That's why I think that this movie should have been called Thomas and Friends: The Great Railway Show. This change in the title will or could not mislead viewers into thinking that they're getting a whole movie just about a whole race. It's really the whole show is the movie, pretty much. And so that simple change would not mislead viewers into thinking that, oh, I'm just going to get a movie about a whole race. That's not what this movie is about at all. It's about the entire Great Railway Show. It's about Thomas wanting to go to the Great Railway Show. It could have been called, Thomas and the Great Railway Show, but, that'd be a total callback to the Railway Series book. But I also think that HIT needs to let up on the special run times. Let them be 90 minutes, HIT. Let them be 90 minutes. This way, we could have gotten more time focused on Vinny versus Philip, Gordon and Scotsman, and the Great Railway Show as a whole. The whole show lasts a day. 1 day. That show should have lasted at least 2, maybe 3 days in total. 1 day. There's no way it could have lasted a day. And that's why I think if you stretch the specials out to 90 minutes long, you could give more time to each event and not just focus on one, and have more time focused on those other storylines that I mentioned. Before I transition into overall ratings, I'm gonna have to say this right now. The bridge jumping scene with Thomas, I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. Did it need to be in the movie? No. But was it a cool visual? Yes. It looks spectacular, but did it need to be there? No. Anyway, let's go ahead and transition into the overall ratings and final thoughts of this movie. My overall rating is an 8.5 out of 10 currently. 8.5. The reason for that being because I feel that this movie could have benefited from a longer run time, and a lot of storylines I just felt underwhelmed with, like Gordon, Scotsman, Vinny, and Philip. That being said, though, it's still a really high rating. 8.5 is a B+. That's still really good for a movie. I don't, however, think it's better than Sorcerer's Legend of the Lost Treasure. Lost Treasure is by far the best Thomas and Friends movie to ever come out of the franchise. It's way better than, of course, Tatmer or this piece of junk. Of course, no Thomas special is perfect, but ARC has really come close with their specials. I know this doesn't rank higher than Sorcerer's Legend of the Lost Treasure for me, but where does it stand with the other specials? I'm only going to be ranking the ARC ones because I haven't watched the Nitrogen ones recently, so we're just going to rank the ARC ones. For me, it goes Legend of the Lost Treasure, and then I'd say The Great Race is tied with The Adventure Begins for second place. After that comes King of the Railway for third, and coming in dead last is Tale of the Brave. I'm sorry, I just think that Tale of the Brave lags a lot the more times that you watch it, and I just don't think it's all it's cracked up to be, really. That being said, it's not a bad Thomas movie. It's pretty good. It's just not, better than King of the Railway, which I like King of the Railway a lot because that was the movie that got me back into watching Thomas back in, 2013 when that came out? Yeah, that was the movie that got me back into watching Thomas. So that was my review for The Great Race. It wasn't the best Thomas movie ever made, but it did come pretty darn close. So anyway, I want to thank you all for watching, and as always, good night, everybody.